Well, joining me now is California Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff, who is a member of the House Intelligence Committee and so has been getting some of these briefings. Congressman Schiff, what can you tell us about what can you tell us publicly about what you know and what you understand about this plot?
Well, what I understand is that there's a high level of confidence in the sources of the information on it. We get chatter all the time. It's often very nonspecific. Sometimes it's from less than credible sources. But to take this kind of a broad action to shut down this many embassies over this broad terrain, to have multiple briefings to the president in the course sometimes of a single day, that demonstrates a high level of confidence that this threat is real, that the attack planning is real, that it's not idle chatter and it's not an effort to simply distract us from something else they're doing. I think it's apparent too that while it may be specific or fairly specific on the timing, it's obviously not very specific on the location. And typically when you hear chatter, it might be in code. Those who are chattering might be talking about, well, the wedding is coming up this Sunday. The gifts are going to be enormous. We're going to get quite a reaction to the celebration afterwards. Things like that, which can indicate something's happening, something's imminent, but not always where that's likely to take place. The other thing I've mentioned, Chuck, is I think there really is an effect of Benghazi that overshadows all of this, which is there's an effort to be very cautious in terms of making sure that we do everything possible to protect our personnel.
You know, when it comes to AQAP, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, there's been a lot of successful drone strikes that some get confirmed, some don't get confirmed by the government. But it's clear that there have been supposedly successful drone strikes at getting top Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula operatives over the last few years. And yet, the sense we're getting over the last few days is that AQAP is as strong as they've ever been. Would you assess their strength and their operational capabilities right now?
Well, I think they are very strong. The drone strikes have always been a bit of a mixed bag. They have taken very senior leadership, very dangerous leadership off the battlefield, unquestionably a positive. At the same time, they have incited others to want to attack us. They have been a rallying cry in places like Yemen where inevitably you do have civilian casualties. But Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, particularly in Yemen, has lost a lot of territory as we've worked successfully with the Yemeni government. That's been a positive. But plainly, they're still capable of planning and plotting. One of the most capable bomb makers, al-Asiri in Yemen, is probably among the most dangerous in the world. So they're still very potent. They're still well-resourced, even if they occupy less territory and under a great pressure from a combination of U.S. and Yemeni forces.
You know, when we first booked you, Congressman, we were going to talk. We were going to spend a lot of time talking about the FISA courts and NSA. So I got to ask you what you've learned. You're on the Intelligence Committee. Where do you stand on this? Do you think the NSA has been transparent enough? Do you think the FISA courts are transparent enough? Are you for this kind of surveillance that the NSA is involved with? And did this surveillance help us in this case, learning about this plot?
Well, in terms of FISA court, no, I don't think the FISA court is transparent enough. I don't think Americans have any idea who sits on the FISA court, and I think we'd be better off with a process where they're nominated by the president, confirmed by the Senate, so that we can vet them on the Fourth Amendment. I think more of their opinions should be declassified, and I think there should be an advocate for the privacy interest of the American people before that court. In terms of the programs themselves, the biggest question I have is about the metadata program. I've been urging NSA really for quite some time that they ought to allow the telecommunications companies to hold their own data. And then we would only go to them when we had specific and articulable facts that a certain number was connected with terrorism. I don't think there's any reason why the American government needs to be in possession of the vast majority of telephone records within the United States. And I don't think, although people have been a little sloppy in talking about this plot, that there's any indication that that metadata program played a role. It'd be very unusual for a bulk collection of domestic calls to be telling us about an AQAP plot against foreign embassies and consulates.
That's an interesting charge you just leveled there, though, that said people have been sloppy. Is too much leaked out about this plot already?
Well, I don't think we should be talking about the sources at all of our information on this. This is not something we're looking back in history and saying, well, with respect to this plot several years ago, this program was useful. But I do think that in this context, as in others, people have commingled several different NSA programs to try to defend, in particular, the bulk metadata program, which I think has shown probably among the weaker track records of the NSA programs.
Adam Schiff, Democratic Congressman from California, member of the Intelligence Committee. Thank you, sir, for sharing your views and getting up early on the West Coast.